The massive holographic projection filled the United Nations emergency chamber, its pale blue light casting eerie shadows across the faces of Earth's assembled leaders. The alien figure towered above them, its ornate robes and multiple arms creating an imposing sight. High Counselor Marcus, Supreme Leader of the Galactic Council, looked down at humanity with what could only be described as bored contempt. Your species has been granted the honor of joining the Galactic Council's protectorate. The alien's words boomed through the chamber's translation systems. Submit to our guidance, and we will elevate your primitive civilization to acceptable standards. Admiral James Stone stood at the primary podium, his weathered face betraying no emotion. At 63 years old, he had spent 4 decades preparing Earth's defenses for this very moment. The white-haired admiral straightened his black uniform, the golden Earth Defense Force insignia catching the light. And if we decline this generous offer? Stone's voice carried clearly through the chamber. The alien's expression shifted to something resembling amusement. Decline. There is no declining. You will submit, or your species will face immediate extinction. We have already positioned our fleets around your solar system. This is merely a courtesy notification. Behind Stone, General Thompson discreetly passed him a tablet. The Admiral glanced down at the screen, where red dots appeared throughout the solar system. Their early warning systems had detected the Council ships exactly where the alien claimed they were. Hundreds of vessels, each supposedly capable of destroying a small continent. Stone allowed himself a small smile. Everything was proceeding exactly as their intelligence had predicted. The Council's arrogance made them predictable. Your response is required now, High Counselor Marcus declared. Submit to protective oversight, or face annihilation. Choose. Stone turned to look at the assembled leaders of Earth. 200 years of unified preparation had led to this moment. Since the first hints of alien observation had been detected, humanity had worked in secret, building, planning, and preparing. The underground factories of Mars were ready. The Europa defense platforms were armed. The quantum network was online. The world leaders nodded almost as one. They had drilled for this scenario countless times. Stone turned back to the hologram. Humanity has made its choice, he announced, his voice firm and clear. We choose war. For the first time, genuine surprise flickered across the alien's features. In 50,000 years of Council rule, no species had ever chosen resistance over submission. The Council had long since stopped considering it a real possibility. You cannot be serious, Marcus said. Your primitive weapons would not last 5 minutes against a single Council vessel. We have millions. Perhaps, Stone replied calmly. But you might want to check on your fleet near Jupiter. The alien's eyes widened as reports suddenly flooded in. The Council's entire Jupiter battle group, 50 ships of the line, had just vanished in a series of quantum detonations. Human vessels emerged from concealed positions in the asteroid belt, their weapons already charging. Impossible, Marcus roared. Your species doesn't have quantum technology. Our surveys confirmed it. Your surveys saw what we wanted them to see, Stone explained. We detected your observation posts 2 centuries ago. Everything since then has been a carefully crafted deception. Those primitive rockets and clumsy satellites. Theater, nothing more. The hologram flickered as more reports of Council ship losses poured in. Humanity's first strike had already destroyed a quarter of the invasion fleet. The careful planning of centuries was paying off. This is your final chance, Marcus threatened, though his confidence had clearly been shaken. Submit now, or face the full might of the Council. Stone's reply was calm, but carried the weight of humanity's unified resolve. We have a different proposal. The Council has 24 hours to withdraw all forces from the Sol system. After that, we stop playing defense. The hologram vanished as the Council cut the transmission. Throughout the chamber, Earth's leaders remained silent, the weight of what they had just done settling over them. Humanity had just declared war on the most powerful civilization in the known galaxy. General Thompson approached Stone. They won't withdraw, sir. No, Stone agreed, watching as more tactical data streamed in from their forces throughout the solar system. They won't. And that's exactly what we're counting on. Send the signal. Operation Thunderstrike is now active. The war for humanity's independence had begun, and the Galactic Council was about to learn why it was a terrible mistake to back humans into a corner. 24 hours passed without a council response. In the command center beneath Mount Everest, Admiral Stone watched as thousands of enemy ships moved into attack formation. The massive underground chamber hummed with activity as military personnel monitored walls of holographic displays. They're positioning for a standard overwhelming force attack, Dr. Anna Reed reported, her eyes fixed on the tactical display. As Earth's lead weapons developer, she had spent years studying Council battle tactics. Just like every conquest they've conducted for the past 10,000 years. Stone nodded. And like every conquest for 10,000 years, they expect it to work perfectly. He pressed a button on his command chair. All stations, execute Defense Pattern Alpha. Across the solar system, hidden human installations came to life. What the Council believed to be simple rocky asteroids suddenly revealed themselves as heavily armed battle stations. The ice sheets of Europa split open, releasing swarms of small, agile Earth ships. The Council fleet launched their first strike. Thousands of energy beams lanced toward Earth, exactly as humanity's simulations had predicted. The alien weapons were designed to bypass conventional shields through dimensional phasing. Quantum shield network activating, Dr. Reed announced. 3, 2, 1. The Council's attack hit Earth's atmosphere and simply vanished. In the command center, holographic displays showed the energy being redirected through quantum channels to power stations across the planet. Humanity had spent decades learning how to turn the Council's most powerful weapons into a power source. High Counselor Marcus's voice boomed through the communication channels. What trickery is this? No species has ever blocked our primary weapons. Stone allowed himself a small smile. You assumed that because we didn't show advanced technology, we didn't have it. That was your first mistake. He turned to his tactical officer. Launch the counterattack. All ships, engage at will. Human vessels emerged from hidden docks on Mars and the Moon. They were smaller than Council ships, but far more numerous. Where Council vessels were massive and imposing, human ships were sleek and fast. 2 centuries of preparation had taught humanity that surviving against a superior force meant fighting smarter, not bigger. Sir, the Council fleet is launching fighters, an officer reported. Perfect. Stone pressed another button. Release the drones. Millions of small, AI-controlled drones poured out of Earth's ships. Each one was barely larger than a car, but carried weapons specifically designed to target Council shield frequencies. The alien fighters, used to dealing with similar-sized enemy ships, found themselves swarmed by machines that moved too quickly to track. Their shields are failing, Dr. Reed reported with satisfaction. The quantum disruptors are working exactly as designed. The space around Earth lit up with explosions as Council ships began to fall. Their massive vessels, designed to intimidate through size and power, made perfect targets for human weapons. Centuries of Council military doctrine had never considered the possibility of fighting an enemy who had spent generations preparing specifically to defeat them. Impossible. Marcus's voice shook with rage. We are the Galactic Council. We cannot be defeated by primitives. Your mistake, Stone replied calmly, was thinking that staying hidden meant we were weak. Humanity hasn't been idle, Counselor. We've been getting ready for this day since we first detected your observation posts. The battle continued for 6 hours. When it ended, half of the Council's invasion fleet had been destroyed. The remaining ships retreated in disorder, their perfect military formation shattered by an enemy they had gravely underestimated. In the command center, Stone watched the enemy ships flee. Status report. 17 human ships lost, his tactical officer reported. Over 800 Council vessels destroyed or disabled. They're running, sir. Stone nodded grimly. They'll be back. And next time, they won't underestimate us. He turned to Dr. Reed. How long until the Phase 2 weapons are ready? She smiled. Right on schedule, Admiral. The Council thought this was our best defense. They have no idea what humanity is truly capable of. As cleanup operations began around Earth's orbit, Stone knew this was just the beginning. The Council had ruled the galaxy through fear and overwhelming force for 50,000 years, but they had never faced an enemy like humanity, a species that had turned its greatest weakness, the need to hide and prepare, into its greatest strength. The next phase of the war was about to begin, and humanity was ready to show the galaxy why you should never corner a species that thrives on overcoming impossible odds. 3 days after the first battle, the Council discovered just how wrong their intelligence about Earth had been. Deep beneath the surface of Mars, Admiral Stone walked through a massive underground factory with High Commander Wilson, watching automated assembly lines produce advanced warships. The Council's spy drones just found this facility, Wilson reported, his boots echoing on the metal walkway. They thought it would demoralize us if they broadcast the images across the galaxy. Instead, they're doing our work for us. Stone watched as robotic arms assembled quantum engines with perfect precision. And how are the other species reacting to the broadcast? Exactly as we hoped. The Council's primitive humans narrative is falling apart. They're seeing our true capabilities. The facility stretched for miles in every direction. What appeared on the surface as empty Martian desert was actually the largest shipyard ever built. Hundreds of ships were under construction, each more advanced than anything the Council had seen in the first battle. An alarm suddenly blared through the facility. Council attack force detected, the AI system announced calmly. 300 ships approaching Mars. Stone didn't appear concerned. Right on schedule. Activate the defense grid. The Council fleet appeared above Mars, their weapons charging. High Counselor Marcus's voice boomed through the communication channels. We will not be humiliated by primitives. Your hidden facility will be destroyed. About that, Stone replied casually. You might want to look again. The ground around the Council fleet suddenly came alive. What they had thought were random rocks and sand dunes transformed into defense platforms. Before the alien ships could react, they were surrounded by weapons that had been hiding in plain sight for decades. Impossible, Marcus exclaimed. Our scans showed nothing but desert. We learned quantum camouflage from studying your observation posts, Stone explained. Then we improved it. Everything you think you know about Mars is wrong. The defense platforms opened fire. Council ships began exploding as their shields failed against weapons they had never encountered before. The few vessels that tried to retreat found their engines disabled by hidden tractor beams. In the command center, Dr. Reed appeared on a holographic screen. Admiral, they found the Mercury Base 2, just as planned. Stone nodded. The Council was falling for every trap humanity had laid. Show them what we've got there. On Mercury, another secret was revealed. The planet's scorched surface split open like a blooming flower, revealing vast arrays of solar energy collectors, feeding the largest energy weapon ever built. The Council ships near Mercury tried to flee, but it was too late. You see, Counselor, Stone addressed Marcus, humans have a long history of hiding our best weapons. We've had 200 years to prepare, and we used every second. The Mercury weapon fired a massive beam of concentrated solar energy, cutting through the Council fleet like paper. In seconds, another 100 alien ships were destroyed or disabled. This is not possible. Marcus raged. Your species was watching primitive entertainment broadcasts just decades ago. You were fighting with chemical rockets. Wilson smiled. Amazing what you can accomplish when you know you're being watched. Every piece of technology we showed you was carefully chosen. Every advancement we made was hidden underground. The remaining Council ships retreated, but Stone knew they had achieved their objective. Across the galaxy, other species were watching. They were seeing that the mighty Council could be beaten, that their technology could be matched and surpassed. Status report. Stone commanded. The AI network confirms 247 Council ships destroyed. Wilson reported. Our losses. 0. The quantum shields performed perfectly. Stone nodded. And the Phoenix Protocol? Ready for testing, Dr. Reed confirmed. The Council still hasn't detected our Jupiter installations. They have no idea what's coming. As cleanup crews moved to collect debris from the battle, Stone watched the automated factories continue their work. Humanity had spent generations preparing for this war, hiding their true strength. The Council had ruled through fear for 50,000 years, but they had never faced an enemy who had turned deception into an art form. Send word to all commands, Stone ordered. Phase 3 begins tomorrow. It's time to show the Council why humanity's greatest weapon isn't our technology. It's our patience. The war was about to enter a new phase, and the galaxy was watching. Humanity's hidden arsenal was finally being revealed, and with each revelation, the Council's grip on power grew weaker. Operation Thunderstrike began at exactly midnight Earth time. Commander Rita Wells sat in her command chair aboard the EDF Swift Strike, leading the first major human offensive against Council space. 5,000 ships jumped into position around one of the Council's most important military bases. All ships report ready, her tactical officer announced. The Council fleet is still tied up defending their core worlds. They didn't expect us to strike here. Wells smiled. The Council had never imagined that humans could reach this far into their territory. They were about to learn another harsh lesson about underestimating Earth. Begin the attack, she ordered. Remember your training. Hit fast, hit hard, and don't let them recover. Human ships swarmed toward the massive space station. Unlike the Council's rigid battle formations, Earth vessels moved in seemingly random patterns, making them almost impossible to target. This was how humans had always fought. Unpredictable, adaptable, and ruthlessly efficient. The station's defenders scrambled to respond. Council ships, each 5 times larger than the human vessels, moved to protect their base. Their energy weapons filled space with deadly beams, but the human ships were too quick, too nimble to hit. Deploy the Wasps, Wells commanded. From each human ship, hundreds of small fighter craft emerged. The Council had named them Wasps after seeing them in action. Tiny, aggressive, and devastating in swarms. Their pilots were all veterans of endless simulations trained specifically for this mission. The Council commander's voice boomed across all channels. Surrender now, humans. You are too far from your homeworld to escape. That's where you're wrong, Wells replied calmly. Computer, activate quantum beacon network. Hidden beacons throughout Council space suddenly activated. For months, automated stealth ships had been placing them in preparation for this moment. With a flash of light, another 3,000 human ships appeared, transported instantly across the galaxy. Impossible. The Council commander shouted. No species has mastered quantum transportation on this scale. We learned it from studying your supply lines, Wells explained as her ships pressed the attack. Then we figured out how to do it better. The battle turned into chaos, exactly how humans preferred to fight. Council ships, designed for formal line battles, found themselves surrounded by enemies that refused to follow any predictable pattern. Their commanders, trained to follow rigid protocols, couldn't adapt fast enough to the constantly changing human tactics. Main station shields at 40%. Wells's tactical officer reported. They're trying to call for reinforcements. Let them, Wells smiled. Admiral Stone is waiting for their response fleet. Now, show them our new toys. From the larger human ships, special pods were launched. They looked like debris until they attached themselves to Council vessels. Then they activated, sending quantum disruption fields through the alien ship systems. Council ships began shutting down one by one as their advanced technology was turned against them. Centuries of standardization had given them reliable, powerful ships, but it also meant they all shared the same vulnerabilities. Station shields failing. The tactical officer announced. We have them. Wells stood from her command chair. All ships converge on the station. Remember, we want it captured, not destroyed. This is going to be our new forward base in Council space. The station's defenses crumbled under the coordinated human assault. Within hours, the largest Council military installation in this sector had fallen. Human Marines, wearing powered armor that made them more than a match for Council warriors, secured the station deck by deck. Admiral Stone is reporting success at their fleet ambush point, her communications officer reported. The Council response fleet has been completely destroyed. We have full control of this sector. Wells nodded, watching as human ships began setting up defensive positions around their new conquest. This wasn't just a raid. It was the beginning of a permanent human presence in Council space. Send word to Earth, she ordered. Operation Thunderstrike Phase 1 complete. We're ready for Phase 2. She turned to look at the massive station they had captured. The Council thought their territory was safe from primitive humans. Now they'll learn that nowhere in the galaxy is beyond our reach. As repair crews began converting the station for human use, Wells knew this was just the beginning. The Council was about to discover that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their weapons or technology. It was their ability to take an enemy's strength and turn it into a weakness. The real war was about to begin, and humanity was finally ready to take the fight to the Council's doorstep. The Great Hall of the Galactic Council erupted into chaos. Representatives from 100 alien species shouted and argued as reports of human victories filled the massive screens around them. High Counselor Marcus stood at the central podium, watching his perfect order crumble. How could you hide this from us? The delegate from the Star Empire demanded. You told us humans were primitive savages. Now they control 20% of Council space. Dr. Anna Reed watched the scene through a hacked feed in Earth's command center. The Council's supposedly unbreakable security systems had fallen to human cyber warfare weeks ago. Every secret meeting, every private conversation, was now an open book to Earth's intelligence teams. Their younger members are starting to rebel, she reported to Admiral Stone. Just as we predicted. Stone nodded, studying the chaos in the Council chamber. Show them the next video. On the Council's screens, a new recording began playing. It showed human ships helping a small alien colony that the Council had abandoned to a natural disaster. While Council forces retreated, human vessels dropped supplies and medical aid. You see the truth now, a young Council delegate shouted. While we hide in our fortified worlds, humans prove themselves better leaders than us. Marcus slammed his hand on the podium. Silence. We have ruled the galaxy for 50,000 years. We will not be lectured about leadership by primitives and their sympathizers. But the damage was done. Across Council space, more species began openly supporting humanity. Ships from younger races defected, joining human fleets. Colonies that had suffered under Council rule reached out to Earth for protection. In the command center, General Thompson arrived with fresh reports. 6 more systems have declared independence from the Council. They're requesting human military support. Send the aid packages we prepared, Stone ordered. Show them that Earth keeps its promises. The Council's internal communications network, once their greatest strength, became their worst weakness. Human cyber warfare teams had planted messages, revealed hidden truths, and exposed centuries of Council lies. Species that had feared and obeyed the Council for millennia now saw them for what they really were. Sir, a communications officer called out. The Star Empire is officially switching sides. They're giving us access to their shipyards. Stone allowed himself a small smile. The Council was falling apart exactly as planned. Humanity had studied their enemy for centuries, learning that their greatest weakness wasn't their technology or their military. It was their own arrogance. Back in the Council chamber, Marcus made his final mistake. Any species that aids the humans will be destroyed. We will burn their worlds to ash as an example. The threat backfired instantly. More delegates stood up in protest. The Council's perfect image of benevolent leadership shattered completely. Even their oldest allies began backing away. "We didn't just defeat their ships," Dr. Reed observed. "We defeated their myth of invincibility. The galaxy is realizing that the Council can bleed." On screens across Council space, more human victories were displayed. But it wasn't just battles. It was humans rebuilding destroyed colonies, sharing medical technology, and treating former enemies with respect. Each act of kindness was another crack in the Council's foundation. "The Phoenix Protocol is ready," General Thompson reported. "We can launch the final phase whenever you give the word." Stone studied the tactical display showing Council space slowly turning to humanity's side. "Not yet. Let them tear themselves apart first. The best victory is the one where your enemy defeats themselves." In the Council chamber, the first physical fights broke out between delegates. Centuries of resentment and fear boiled over. The mighty Galactic Council, which had ruled through intimidation for 50,000 years, was collapsing under the weight of its own lies. "Send word to Commander Wells," Stone ordered. "Begin moving ships into position for the final attack. When the Council finishes tearing itself apart, we'll be ready to end this war." As they watched the Council's authority crumble, Stone knew that humanity's greatest weapon had worked perfectly. They hadn't just fought the Council's military. They had fought their ideology, their pride, and their control over information. And in that battle, the Council never had a chance. The next phase would begin soon, and when it did, the galaxy would see that humanity's rise wasn't just about military power. It was about offering a better way forward. The Council capital world shone like a jewel in space, protected by the most powerful defense grid in the galaxy. 10,000 warships formed a defensive sphere around the planet. For 50,000 years, no enemy had ever breached these defenses. Admiral Stone stood on the bridge of the EDF Humanity's Dawn, leading the largest fleet ever assembled. 20,000 human ships waited in formation, joined by 5,000 vessels from former Council races. The time had finally come. "All ships report ready," Commander Wells announced from her position as second in command. "The Phoenix Protocol is armed and synchronized across all vessels." Stone nodded. "Send the traditional warning. Even now, we'll give them one last chance." The message was broadcast on all frequencies. "This is Admiral Stone of the Earth Defense Force. Surrender now, and we guarantee fair treatment under human law. Resist, and face the consequences of your choice." High Counselor Marcus's reply came quickly. "You dare to threaten us at our seat of power? We have ruled here since before your species learned to make fire. Our defenses are impenetrable." "Actually," Stone smiled, "they're not. Dr. Reed, show them what 200 years of preparation looks like." Across the human fleet, strange devices activated. Reality itself seemed to bend as the Phoenix Protocol engaged. The Council watched in horror as their impenetrable defense grid began to flicker and fail. "What have you done?" Marcus demanded, real fear in his voice for the first time. "We studied your technology for centuries," Stone explained calmly. "Your defense grid is based on the laws of physics as you understand them. But humans, we learned to break those laws." The Phoenix Protocol reached full power. Space around the Council capital twisted and warped. Their defensive screens, designed to stop any normal attack, were useless against weapons that ignored the basic rules of reality. "All ships, advance," Stone ordered. "Remember your training. Today we end 50,000 years of Council rule." The human fleet moved forward as one. Council ships opened fire, but their weapons passed harmlessly through the distorted space around the Earth vessels. Humanity had learned to weaponize the fabric of reality itself. "Their main defense stations are falling," Wells reported. "The Council fleet is in chaos. They've never seen anything like this." Stone watched as 2 centuries of planning came to fruition. "Launch the boarding pods. Take their command centers intact. We want their records, their databases, everything." Special Forces teams, wearing advanced battle suits, breached the Council's mighty space stations. The alien defenders found themselves fighting an enemy that seemed to appear and disappear at will, using technology that made no sense to their ancient understanding of science. Their orbital defenses are down, Dr. Reed reported from Earth. The capital city is exposed. Shall I activate the final phase? Stone looked at the beautiful planet below, home to the power that had dominated the galaxy for so long. Do it. Let's show them their final mistake. Across the council capital, hidden devices activated. For 50 years, human agents had smuggled tiny quantum transmitters into the planet's infrastructure. Now those devices connected, creating a web that shut down every defense system, every weapon, every ship controller. Impossible. Marcus screamed over the communications. How long have you been planning this? Since the day we detected your first probe, Stone replied. You thought you were studying primitive humans, but we were studying you, learning your weaknesses, preparing for this moment. The Council's last defense, a superweapon built into the planet's core, tried to activate, but human saboteurs had reached it years ago. The mighty weapon backfired, destroying the Council's own command bunkers while leaving civilian areas untouched. In less than 6 hours, the impregnable capital of the Galactic Council fell. Human forces secured the planet with minimal civilian casualties. The Council's 50,000-year reign ended not with a grand last stand, but with a whimper. Send word to Earth, Stone ordered. The capital is secured. The war is effectively over. He turned to look at the planet that had ruled the galaxy for so long. Now comes the hard part, building something better. As human ships began landing in the Council City, Stone knew that today marked not just the end of one era, but the beginning of another. Humanity had proven itself not just through force of arms, but through patience, planning, and the determination to build a better galaxy for all species. The final phase was complete. Now it was time to show the galaxy what humanity could really do when they turned their minds to peace instead of war. 1 month after the fall of the Council capital, the Great Hall that once housed the Galactic Council hosted a very different gathering. Representatives from every spacefaring species filled the chamber, but this time there was no hierarchy, no raised platforms for the powerful. All seats were on the same level. Admiral Stone stood at the simple podium, his dress uniform bearing only the Earth Defense Force insignia. Behind him, the screen showed ships from 100 worlds working together to rebuild damaged colonies. The war is over, he announced to the assembled delegates. High Counselor Marcus and his inner circle will face trial for crimes against sentient species, but we are not here for revenge. We are here to build something new. In the front row, Commander Wells and Dr. Reed watched as their long-planned transition began. The gathered species, many of whom had fought each other for centuries under Council rule, now sat together as equals. Earth refuses the position of supreme authority, Stone continued, causing murmurs of surprise through the chamber. We did not fight to replace one empire with another. Instead, we proposed the Federation of Free Worlds. The screens changed to show the proposed structure. Every species would have an equal voice. Technology would be shared, not hoarded. Defense would be cooperative, not imposed from above. From the audience, a former Council race delegate spoke up. But you have the strongest fleet, the most advanced technology. Why would you not take control? Stone smiled. Because that was the Council's mistake. They believed power meant control. Humanity believes power means responsibility. We don't want subjects. We want allies. The chamber erupted in discussion as Stone revealed humanity's true victory. They hadn't just defeated the Council, they had changed the very nature of galactic civilization. Dr. Reed stepped forward to explain the technological aspects. Every advancement we made will be shared. The quantum shields, the Phoenix Protocol, all of it. But more importantly, we'll teach you how we made them. Knowledge belongs to everyone. In orbit above the capital, human ships worked alongside alien vessels, dismantling the old Council defense grid. In its place, they built a new network, one designed to protect, not control. There will be challenges, Stone continued. Old hatreds don't disappear overnight. But Earth commits its full strength not to ruling the galaxy, but to protecting the peace while we all learn to work together. Commander Wells activated a hologram showing the first joint project, a massive space station where all species could meet, trade, and learn from each other. Construction had already begun, with teams from former enemy races working side by side. The Council ruled through fear for 50,000 years, Stone said. They created stability through force. We offer something different, stability through cooperation. It's harder. It takes more work. But it's the only way forward that doesn't lead back to war. In the following hours, every species present signed the Charter of the Federation, not because they were forced to, but because humanity had shown them a better path. Later, in a private meeting room, Stone looked out at the capital city below. Wells and Reed joined him, watching the sun set on the first day of the new era. Did we succeed? Wells asked quietly. Stone nodded. The hard part starts now. Building is always harder than fighting. But for the first time in 50,000 years, the galaxy has hope. And the Phoenix Protocol? Reed questioned. Are we really sharing everything? Everything. Stone confirmed. Because the Council's greatest weakness was their fear of losing power, we'll be stronger by sharing it. As night fell on the capital world, ships from 100 species flew peaceful routes through the stars. The mighty defense platforms that once threatened destruction now served as navigation beacons. In laboratories and academies across the galaxy, former Council secrets were being taught to eager students from all worlds. Humanity had won not just through force of arms, but by offering a vision of something better. They had defeated the Council not just by being stronger, but by being wiser. Stone looked at the Federation Charter on his desk. Send word to Earth. Operation New Dawn is complete. Tell them their children will grow up in a galaxy of equals, not of masters and servants. The age of the Council was over. The age of cooperation had begun, and humanity had proven that their greatest strength wasn't their weapons or their technology. It was their ability to imagine a better future and make it real.